This is about Hurricane Milton. Now, Hurricane Milton hasn't made landfall yet. As of this morning, it was a, it is rather a Category 5 hurricane with 165 mile per hour winds and a 15 to 20-foot storm surge. The longer it stays a Category 5, the bigger the storm surge will be because as a Category 5, it collects warm water from the Gulf and feeds the storm through the warm water. It's very complicated, but that's the easy way to describe it. I have very dear friends, Catnot Williams from the Catnot Williams YouTube channel, J.R. Duke from J.R. Duke's YouTube channel. Um, there's others that I watch that live in that area. Um, Benny Johnson from The Benny Show, Melanie King from Melanie Speaks. Melanie, when I watched her yesterday, said that she was evacuating, that it was a mandatory evacuation yesterday for Tampa. I care about these people. I want them to be okay. If you're in the path of the storm, please evacuate. This storm is nothing to mess around with. The local news has said, well, it's going to be a Category 1 or 2 at landfall. That's not what's going on. It is sitting over the warm water of the Gulf as a Category 5, increasing in size, and they're saying by the time it makes landfall, it will be as wide almost as the whole state of Florida. It has 165-mile-an-hour winds. And they showed on the Weather Channel last night that a 9-foot storm surge will wipe out most of the restaurants on the coast. Said a 10-foot storm surge would be over the top of every small building on the coast. That a 15 to 20-foot storm surge will knock down 2-story buildings. They said that the only safe place if you live in Tampa is to leave and go inland. And then they started saying that this storm is so big that it will go across the state of Florida and come out the other side and still be a hurricane and re-strengthen in the waters of the Atlantic. And then the stupid idiot on the local television station down there said this incredibly stupid thing. Well, this is all because of global warming. We didn't have these severe storms before global warming. False. In 1922, they had a storm just this size hit Tampa. That's the last storm that was a direct hit on Tampa. That's well before this global warming bullshit. You know, they try to scare us with this global warming stuff, but I want you to think about something. I look at it from a historical perspective. Throughout the history of this continent, the atmosphere has heated and cooled. I live in Montana, in eastern Montana. Eastern Montana years ago was a subtropical rainforest. Where I live now is now a desert, but it gets cold here in the wintertime. It gets minus 45 in January. Think about that. Minus 45 in January in eastern Montana, southeastern Montana, and they're worried about the country warming too much. I just find this whole thing laughable because, you know, the country has heated and cooled for the last 1,000 years. You know, I just look at it and say, well, it's nature. Nature's going to do what nature wants. Has zero to do with what man does. Do I think that there's technologies that could help us be more energy efficient? Yes. Do I think that going all electric is the answer? No. Because here in Montana, this is something to think about. Well, they've tried electric cars here. In the winter in Montana, at minus 45, the car will go 150 miles on a full charge. And then it will take days to recharge it if you don't have a fast charger because it's so cold that it takes time for the batteries to heat up to recharge. That's just a fact. If people want electric cars, I don't have a problem with that. But the government should not force it down our throat, saying, well, this is climate change, blah, blah, blah. Here's another thing about electric cars. If the battery gets wet, the car will catch on fire, and because the battery cage is welded shut, the fire department can't get the battery cage from underneath the car open to put out the fire. It's welded shut. It's not a tray that you can take out some bolts and drop it down. It's welded shut. And when they have to replace the battery, it's several $1,000s because they have to replace that whole tray that sits up under the car that's welded shut. That's my rant about electric cars and about global warming and all that kind of craziness. But please keep the people in the path of Milton in your prayers. Thank you for watching. Take care.